Hi, my name is Dan Beller and it's August 2nd, 2022. And today I'm going to talk about interpersonal communication with my wife, Becky. We have 5 kids, 3 girls, 2 boys, ages 5 to 15. My job is I'm a leadership coach and a consultant, and we're a faith-based home that tries to stay God-centered in our decision making. And today I want to talk about how I can improve as a husband in interpersonal communication to enhance my relationship and to model better behavior for my children. And I'm going to talk to you about my behavioral background and personality. Then we're going to dive in and talk about some of the communication traps that I have with my wife. Then some goals and strategies to overcome that, and how I'm going to hold myself accountable to the implementation of those goals. All right, so let's kick it off talking about my personality background. I did the DISC personality through Uniquely You, Carbonell 2015. And I found that I was a high I when it came to outside of the home. So I was good at negotiation, being diplomatic, bringing people together, very positive and enthusiastic. Now I move over to my personal DISC assessment, and I find that I'm more decisive, that I am dominant, can be direct and forceful in the way that I communicate. So let's dive in a little bit more on the personal side of things. Some strengths I have is that I come off to be a good leader because I'm very accountable. So when it comes to finances, upholding faith by going to church on Sundays, doing my household chores to improve the home environment, I do those things very, very well. And now as we move over to some of the opportunities and weaknesses, I can consider my opinion to be correct. Oftentimes, I can be insensitive and I can be critical in dealings with people within my household. I tend to look at the big picture over the minute details, and so I can come off insensitive in longer conversations. Now that we have an understanding of my personality at home, let's take a look at some of the communication barriers, and I highlighted 3. 1, not being a very good active listener. Peterson, 2015, page 61, he has a diagram that resonated with me. Happy face, 2 barriers, and a sad face. And they're communicating, and what I was communicating wasn't interpreted the right way, and it fell short of the expectations. And the reason for that is the way I communicated was just with logic, not using my heart and emotion. And so that has led, plus my insensitive personality, to some relationship issues between us and sometimes even resentment. So I'm very aware of that now. The second trap is criticizing my wife. Speaking of that, with Peterson 2015, he has an additional diagram of your stomach as emotions, your heart as openness, your head as logic. And I tend to speak with my head and logic oftentimes with my wife. So I'd ask a question like, did you go to the gym today? Is dinner ready? And those things can come off as accusations and lead us into that courtroom setting that he speaks about. And she can get very defensive because of the way I say it and some things that I may have hurt her with in the past. So I have to be very cognizant to avoid that. In the Schultz and Badinsky book, 2015, it talks about critiquing, attacking your partner's character and who they are through some criticizing habits that I may have had. And that could lead to one of the biggest marriage killers they talk about, which is contempt, holding my spouse in a negative light without giving them the benefit of the doubt. And if I get to that neck of the woods, it could lead to bad things. And so I have to make sure that I'm trying to get rid of this criticizing and critiquing mentality that I have from time to time. The third and final barrier is ordering and telling. I tend to tell and problem solve right out of the gates. I need to slow down, focus, engage in dialogue, and start to empower my wife so she can be more confident and increase her self-esteem. So those are some of the traps that I'm taking a look at. Let's talk about some of the goals and strategies that I'm going to put together to alleviate some of those traps. When it comes to goals and strategies, I want to be a more loving and supporting husband. One Bible verse that resonates with me is James 1:19-20, Lubezek 1991. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. That means that I have to be more patient and loving in my communication. 3 reasons why this is important. Marriage has to be the strongest relationship in my household. Second, modeling good behavior for kids so they're conditioned to be able to communicate properly within our household and outside of it. And third and final, as a Christian man, to use my love of God and pour that into my family is crucial. So those are 3 reasons on why I set these goals and strategies. Now let's take a look at them. 1, work on my active listening. I will adopt the Talking Listening Card by Peterson 2015. And that gives me great advice on how to have good give and take in talk and listening. And to make sure if she has higher emotions that she goes first. And that we have good dialogue and I'm patient to go through it. The second thing was talking about Peterson 2015's technique of alternate feelings and thoughts. So when I talk and when I listen, we're going from feelings to thoughts, feelings to thoughts. That will help me with my active listening. The second strategy would be choosing encouragement over criticizing. And that's simply a choice. I can choose to tear her down with negative reinforcement or build her up with positive, loving reinforcement. And so I'm going to really focus on that. Thirdly, to reduce that ordering and telling. I want to make sure I'm empowering her. The funnel sequence through France and Winkle 2014 was interesting to me. Starting with a general inquiry, then shifting that to a focus, and then entering dialogue where she can figure things out through conversation and how to problem solve on her own. That will build her confidence. That will give her ownership. And I will continue to work on doing that, to be a facilitator and guide instead of a teller. Now that we've talked about some of my goals and strategies, I want to talk about how I'm going to implement and what I'm going to implement. Number 1 is working on that active listening. Peterson 2015, page 160, talks about talking, validating more. Is she still talking? Keep listening. Need more validation? Nope. Keep listening. She doesn't want you to fix it. Keep listening. Is she still talking? Keep listening. I get a chuckle out of that. I'm going to post that on my wall. And if I can't get past step 2 or 3, I'm going to keep working on it until I do all 7 of those things. That really resonated with me and told me to calm down, be patient, and show some respect to your wife and listen to her. The second is choosing encouragement. Schultz and Badinsky 2015 say 5 positives to 1 negative. That's a choice, and I can make that happen. So I'm going to focus on that positive reinforcement. I read an article and they talked about not only encouraging your wife, but talking about ways where you can make a connection, like giving a pillow when she's tired, or giving her the first page of the newspaper if she wants to read it first. I have to do these little things to build a stronger relationship. And third, empower my wife. Listen, support, and accept who she is, and accept her pace, and congratulate her on the things that she does on her own. So the 3 things, again, to recap, that I'm going to be implementing is active listening, encouragement, and empowerment. I know that every good plan needs a good executioner. And the way that I'm going to execute on my implementation is with a 2-fold plan. 1 is I'm going to journal. I'm going to journal weekly on the great things that I say to her to encourage. And I'm going to put that on paper. And I'm also going to write down things that I did to empower her. The second thing is I'm hiring a counseling coach by the name of Lori Zuha, and I'm going to see her on a weekly basis. And we're going to make sure that I'm held accountable to this new initiative because it's everything to me to improve my marriage relationship. And I know through communication that it will do that for me. All right, now that we've talked about my personality and behavioral blend, we've talked about communication traps that I have with my wife. We've outlined some goals and strategies to keep at the forefront. And we've talked about how we're going to implement that and how I'm going to hold myself accountable. One final article that I read was called Love and Respect, Wilson, 2015. He says, we are called to love and respect. Men run on respect, women run on love. Both are powerful to produce change. That resonates with me. I want to fill my spouse's tank because she lives on love. And I will do that through my loving words and my loving listening. And I know it will work in profound ways, not only for our relationship, but for our entire family in teaching them how we should talk and listen with love. Thank you.